Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. With your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. The question we are asking today is, where are you storing your oil? I opened up my Bitcoin vault overnight and I'm storing some oil there. We want to get your take. Where are you storing your oil today as oil went negative? And it was a historic day all around for the markets, for oil, a day that we may see it again soon. I don't really know what's going to happen here, but we'll talk about that. The implications of yesterday, what it means going forward, what it means for the June contracts, what it means for USO. A lot to discuss on the oil front. It's also earnings season here. We are in full swing. IBM yesterday, Netflix coming up here. So a lot to get to on the earnings front. Big day. Nick Chahine is our guest at 8:35. So a lot to get to, Joel. Recap the overnight action for us.
Good morning to you, Spencer. Good morning, everybody. We're down 50.5 handles back at this 2750 area. You all remember what happened last week. We came down here 3 times and just bolted out of here. And now we are just sagging. That's your support. Just treading off the pre-market low of 2754.50. You don't have to worry about 2833 and a quarter. That is your pre-market high. Story again today, June crude following suit here, down 21%, $4.30 at 16.14. I guess the good news, it's in the $16 handle. The bad news is it traded to $11.79. Gold is in the red by $35 at 1676.20. And I got a different layout here. Let me see how Bitcoin's doing today. Bitcoin's quiet. It's up $30 at 6,825. Triple D, explain this all to us. This is unbelievable.
Oh, I mean, it's a history book. You know, they're going to have to, write a new CFA chapter on this one, because this was something that I definitely didn't learn when I took my CFA about WTI potentially going negative. We had to, look it up, and you found it out. You texted me when WTI was around $8 and said, this can go negative. And I'm looking, I'm like, can it? I was like, oh, it can. And I mean, logic says, I just never really thought about it. I'm like, obviously, I guess logic says it, because you can't take physical delivery. You got to sell. So there's no buyer that's willing to buy above zero. Well, you're going to have to sell to somebody that's willing to buy negative. So I tweeted it out when WTI was trading, the May contract was trading around 4. And I said that this can go negative. And then I said, I actually said I wouldn't be surprised if this goes negative. And, just kind of warning my followers as well, because I'm sure there's some people that were speculating and say, oh, I'll buy it at $1. You know how I'll risk $1. And they're thinking, it stops at 0. I was like, that dollar purchase, if you weren't quick to get out, could have turned really ugly on you. So hard learning experience here for a lot of traders yesterday. First of all, if something—
Hey, Dennis, let me interrupt you real quick. They cut off speculators last week. So it was only producers that were able to trade that contract yesterday.
How are producers? What producer? I don't understand that. So, and where did you get that information? Because that makes 0 sense to me.
Paulie said that on the show yesterday.
That makes 0 sense to me, because what producer is going to sell? I highly doubt there was any producer. And I guess if you've got to get rid of it and store it, but I don't think there's a lot of producers that were coming there selling at minus 35 when they could turn around and sell it in June. I guess if you don't have the storage facilities, maybe you had it. Can anybody verify, were they able to trade WTI May yesterday? Because there was some people on Twitter talking about trading it. Okay. So I'm not sure that information is correct.
Maybe it was just at the clearing firm.
I'm not sure that information is correct. If anybody in our chat can verify, I believe you could trade the WTI May yesterday. According to my Twitter feed, there was a lot of people that were talking about trading it. Maybe they're only talking about it. I did not trade it, so I'm not sure. If obviously you could trade the June. I'm not sure that you were just stopped from trading the May at every brokerage account. So if anybody can verify if they made a trade on the May yesterday, let us know in the chat, because I'm sure there's some traders there that may have done that. Maybe most brokers were blocking you from doing it. I'm sure it's broker to broker.
Yep.
They can block you from trading certain things. I think there's probably some speculation out there though, happening as well. So I don't think it was all just producers selling at any given price. I think a lot of your producers would probably be selling in June if they had any capabilities to do that. I mean, why? I guess if it's sitting there and it's got to go at this moment in time, but I mean, it's sitting somewhere. I would be selling it in June and not at May at -35. I'd be selling in June at 22. But
and that's what you're seeing
regardless,
happen today. That's what you're seeing.
the implications here, for everything is very significant. And let's just, dismiss a theory here, because we heard yesterday, and Kramer brought on a guest, and I believe this guest was very uninformed. It was RBN Energy, I believe it was. I don't know if it was CEO or somebody from RBN Energy. And he was talking about that he heard the USO was blowing up. This was not a USO blow up. USO rolled last week. So Jim, if you're listening, anybody from CNBC that's listening, I believe this was very uninformed what was said on Mad Money last night. It was not a USO blow up here that USO had to liquidate all. Christian Fromhertz tweeted out middle of the day showing the USO holdings. They had already rolled to June. So it wasn't USO just liquidating all of their holdings because they had to do it. They rolled last week. And if you look, the stock of or the ETF of USO would say that USO wasn't trading down, 1,000 or 200% yesterday. It was trading down 10% along with the June contract. USO is getting hit hard here this morning because they are in June, and June is getting hit here this morning. But this was not a USO, in my opinion. There's no way this was a USO blow up. This was, and the volume was, a lot lighter. They want to say oil's negative, oil's negative. Oil wasn't negative. Oil, the May futures contract was negative. June, it was still trading at $22 yesterday, and then it got down to $21.20. And yes, it is getting the hell hit out of it. And yes, I'd be scared if I owned it right now. But, just to come out and say oil's negative and you can buy oil and fill up your tank at negative. Nobody could take delivery. We talked about this on the show yesterday. So these are all just media mongering, real fear mongering out there about all the oil going, you can go fill up your tank for, and get paid to fill up your tank. Just nonsense. So nobody could take physical delivery. Even if I have a swimming pool in my backyard. I could drain it, but they weren't going to give me delivery because of Joel's guest coming on yesterday. You were already past that date to be able to take the physical delivery at, unless you were, a producer or you're, maybe you've got a tanker, maybe it's a different story. Maybe there were some tankers, and that's another segue we can go into. Some of the tanker stocks were really popping yesterday, and maybe they were benefiting from this. Maybe they could at the last second take delivery of this. I'm not sure exactly how that works when you're the day before expiration. And you pass certain deadlines. But if you look at the stocks of FRO, and you look at the stocks of STNG, and you look at the stocks of TK, these are tanker companies. NAT is another one. There's 4 for you. All of these had significant pops yesterday. All of these are popping here again this morning. NAT is trading up another almost 10% here this morning. FRO, which these tankers have been dead money for a long time, are showing some life. So if you're looking for a play off this, these tankers could get hot for a little bit. Again, I don't know about them just trading up, and chasing things. I hate chasing stocks, but this story could get hot for a little bit. The tanker story.
Here's a stat that I'm going to read here from CNN and their market newsletter. Over the past 10 years, traders or producers would typically spend $25,000 per day in April for a super tanker, right? For a tanker to store oil. Okay. That price has now jumped to $150,000 per day to store oil on a tanker.
Holy mackerel.
Just goes to show that there's always a winner.
There is sometimes always a winner. I mean, obviously, who was short WTI May yesterday was a winner as well. And if you're short USO overnight or you're short crude overnight, you're a winner here again. So there is a winner and there is a loser, especially when you're talking about futures. There's always a winner and a loser. It's a contract. So there's somebody on the good side and somebody on the bad side. But when you look at, if you want to look at the stocks, the tankers, what Spencer Israel's talking about here too, some of these tankers plays could potentially get hot. I don't know on any of them. And I maybe you trade them. Maybe I'll trade some of them today. This is stuff, I've always say, these hot stories, that, obviously these issues, there's been a lot of issues with the tankers for a long time. They get hot and then they cool off and, the story cools off and then it comes back to reality. But it really wasn't not that significant a move yesterday. So if they get more headlines here today and you start to see WTI really volatile again, storage is an issue. You know, we joked about on the show, let's go buy a tanker. I guess we should have just went and bought a tanker yesterday morning. We could have bought these tanker stocks and did pretty well on it.
Yeah, well, they're gonna eventually reach capacity. So,
and that's a question too. Are the tankers all at, you know, floating at capacity there? I don't know. I don't follow the sector that closely to know which tankers are full, which ones have capacity, which ones don't. You know, which ones can take advantage of negative oil prices, you know, by being a buyer, you know, and taking physical delivery. I don't know the answers to those questions.
No, I don't think anybody else does.
Well, there might be one or two people. Maybe the tanker companies themselves probably know the answer to this question. But there's definitely some speculation going on that the tankers are benefiting because FRO was up over 10% yesterday. TK, there's also the other version, which somebody just gave me the symbol and I forget in the chat. I just saw it go by. TNK, I believe it is. So there's TK and TNK, both of those stocks trading up significantly yesterday. Because
if I could go, I want to go back to USO for a second here.
Yes.
This is from Eric Balchunas, who is the one of the ETF experts at Bloomberg. USO took in $560 million in assets overnight. Their AUM is now $0.1 billion. So somebody or some people are coming in here and buying the USO fund. And that's not driving the price up because of the way ETFs work, and the share count is always changing. But the fact that they're taking in assets overnight means that people are buying this thing.
The logic behind this, and it makes perfect sense. Just imagine, you know, an uninformed investor, and they see oil trading negative. I want to buy oil. They call their broker up, and you know. Some brokers are informed. There's a lot of brokers that are uninformed out there. Believe me, a lot of brokers are salesmen and they don't understand, you know, how these vehicles work as well. I would guarantee you there are some brokers out there that do not realize that the USO, that don't totally understand contango. I guarantee you there's some brokers out there. But imagine just being an uninformed investor calling maybe a potentially uninformed broker. A lot of your brokers are informed. So if brokers are listening, I'm not saying all brokers are uninformed. I'm saying there's a lot of stockbrokers out there, and there's probably some that don't understand contango. And if you're an investor, an uninformed investor, and you're calling one of your brokers who maybe doesn't understand totally how contango works, and they say, I want to buy oil. How do I buy oil? The logic just says, oh, you can buy USO. Here you go. Just buy the USO. And that investment there, obviously overnight, if you were saying that yesterday, you're down 21% here overnight. So you're getting hit substantially because we know this isn't super contango right now. We've warned about the USO on this show for a decade, that there's much better ways to play oil. There's always some contango there and a slow deterioration, whether it's 1% a month, this, you know, ridiculousness.
What's the way out of this, Dennis? What's the way out of this? I mean, should they go to like quarterly expirations? I mean,
how does the USO restructure so they don't keep hitting with super contango?
What about the crude futures contract?
Well, I don't know either. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that it trades negative. So I would say you shouldn't be, first of all, it shouldn't be trading if people can't take physical delivery. So maybe they need to restructure that. Like maybe they need to stop it from trading after you can't take physical delivery. The deadlines are gone by, then why the hell is it still trading?
Or can they
question for the CME?
Can they get rid of the part of the contract that requires physical delivery? Can they just, you know, cross that line out?
I don't know. I know you need to have physical delivery. I mean, that's the whole point to it. Take speculation out of it altogether. I mean, the point is to bring the producer together with the person or the company that needs to buy the oil. So the refiner, you know, the tankers that are holding the oil and transporting it, you know, like that's the whole point to the futures market. Really, you know, if you take speculation out of it, speculation we know comes in and provides liquidity. And obviously that, you know, allows the producer and the refiner to get a better price because of the speculation that's involved. But really, you just think like, how you can't take physical delivery out of it. I mean, this is the whole point to it all. I'm saying the opposite, where once physical delivery is no longer possible, then maybe it shouldn't be trading after that point in time. If it's not possible to take physical delivery, and obviously everyone can't show up with 1,000 barrels of oil. So I get that there has to be a liquidation because you can't have, grandma buying, oil contract. Now 1,000 barrels shows up on her nursing home. It doesn't make any sense at all. So, it's very interesting. And there's going to be some papers written about this day, and there's going to be a lot of other things going on. But all I can tell you is this morning, people are spooked. Not only they're spooked in the June now too. You can take physical delivery of the June. So it's not going, I don't believe the June is going to go negative here today. Some people think it's going to go negative. No, because the physical delivery aspect of it would stop it. I would hope it would stop it from doing that, but I don't know anything in this market.
It's after yesterday.
So I'm never going to say anything after yesterday. I learned something yesterday. So, and a lot of people learned something yesterday. But the bottom line is we've talked about the USO on this show since we started 7 years ago, saying this is a poor way to play oil because of the contango. The contango is ridiculous right now, and it's getting, it's obviously wiping out investors a lot quicker. But if you look at whatever it is, page 12, they warn about in the prospectus, the USO, it's not their fault. This is the way they're structured. They disclosed it. It's in the prospectus. They have to roll. You want exposure to oil, we'll buy the oil contracts. They have to roll because they can't take physical delivery. USO doesn't want physical delivery. They just want to give investors exposure to the price of oil as closely as they possibly can. And that's why they didn't go out too far. They're going to try to start going out a little bit farther to try to reduce these contango effects. But it's still the structure of it that makes it hard, that gives you that huge tracking error. It costs a lot of money to store oil. There's no place to store it right now. And that's why USO is getting hit even harder. You want to play oil? I would say it's the oil stocks. Again, I'm so turned off on oil here right now. I was turned off for the last 2 years. I'm even more turned off now because it just, it's unbelievable that you can see a contract do that.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering if there's like a max loss limit in USO, there is not. It says in the prospectus there are no level of losses that will require USCF to terminate USO. So
what does that mean? That's a good question in itself. Like if they're owning the short month and it goes negative, that I would say they would have to liquidate. Like how could you, because I don't believe an ETF can trade with a negative value. I've never heard of that before. I'd be absolutely shocked if USO can trade negative. I don't think it can.
I don't.
So if it holds June and June starts going negative, then the value of it would be negative and there would be a liability there. So how does all that work? I mean, I don't think I think they're going to roll before the physical delivery dates. I think they probably, they're trying to roll even further than that. They've said 2 days ago they're going to start rolling out 2 months trying to reduce these contango effects. But
right,
I would think at a certain point, if the WTI June went negative today, I would think the USO would have to start liquidating because they can't hold something that's negative. So I honestly don't. These are questions. These are fantastic questions. For USO itself. Maybe we can bring on somebody from the USO ETF to tell us exactly how this works. Because and I don't think June can trade negative, again, because it can take physical delivery. And I believe there would be obviously refiners maybe stepping in and saying, hey, I'll pay negative for oil, but I don't know. These are really good questions. We're just all talking. This is all food for thought here right now. I do not believe an ETF can trade negative, though. I didn't know a WTI. I never really thought about it, but then you think logically about it. Yeah, it would have to. But can the USO trade negative? I don't believe it can.
If I had told you on March 1st that a few things could happen, that oil could trade negative, that the economy would get shut down, that the Fed would launch unlimited QE, which of those things would surprise you the most? Because they're all pretty damn.
Not the unlimited QE. We know
all
this.
Fine.
The economy shut down would probably surprise me the most, but I would have been surprised to see WTI May go red. And obviously it's still trading here today, and it's come back. It's only -5 right now. The May. This is the last day it goes off the board today. So I'm just looking at the May USO or the May WTI. I just saw it go by on CNBC. So it looks like it's red. It's come back somewhat from those losses, but the June is the issue here for the USO. They hold June, and it's a major issue here because June is getting smacked around. Where are we on the June WTI now, Joel?
Down 490 at 1550, 1552.
It's scary. So we're down about 20. So USO is going to track that very closely. So we're down what, or how much percentage wise are we down on that? As you probably
24%.
And we're down 21% on the USO. And USO might potentially hold. We're going out to 2 months, so I don't have the holdings in front of me. I know, Christian, you tweeted it yesterday. Thank you so much, Christian Farmers, for quickly finding that. June, and I believe they might hold some July, which might talk about the discrepancy why it's only down 21% and WTI is down more. But then you have the close at in different times as well. So there's a reason for that discrepancy. But you can see roughly it's roughly tracking the June WTI. So USO was not going to track the May WTI because they didn't hold any May WTI yesterday, but they do hold June, and they hold a lot of it. So watch your June WTI is going to dictate where your USO is going today. Dr. J says they do hold some July as well.
I'm looking for that chart of when they start the rollover, because
somebody said they rolled 2 weeks ago, so they rolled quite a ways ahead.
Yeah,
they don't want physical delivery.
Right.
The USO holds like the most WTI contracts, I believe, out there out of any ETF, out of any. They hold a ton of it, so they don't want physical delivery of that. They have no place to store that, so they have to roll significantly ahead of time so that they don't risk a lot of oil showing up on their doorstep.
S&Ps, we got down to that 2750 level. You guys remember that all from last week. Actually, last week's low was 2746. Haven't been able to get there yet. 2750 is your pre-market low. And boy, this was a big level last week. And now you just kind of think about Friday's rally in the market, Dennis. I mean, how many shorts, including myself, got taken out on that, thrown in the towel, and here we are, 30 handles below where we closed on Thursday.
And not only that rally was it Wednesday night was the big rally? I'm losing track of days here.
I think
it's like Groundhog Day around here. Wednesday night or Thursday night was the big, when Gilead came out with the news. That was the kicker. Was that Wednesday night or Thursday night?
I thought it was Thursday night.
Because I'm just looking at the charts and we see 287 was back on Friday. So I think you're right. I think it was Thursday night that Gilead came out with the good news. Friday morning and Friday night, we were ripping on everything. Like I was tweeting out that night. You had a lot of retail stocks up 20% Friday night. You had stocks like Kohl's that were trading up over $20. And obviously you won't see it on the charts because they didn't trade that high, but I think Kohl's was kissing up to like 21. I mean, you come in here this morning at 1650. So here you are 2.5 days later and the stock's down 20%. This is the risk of buying the trash. The dash for trash worked for a day. But again, you're seeing these stocks get hit the hardest. And what my concern is, and what I am still concerned is, and I've been talking about this, is the banks. The banks are relatively weak. They didn't participate as much as the overall market on the recent rally. And they are quickly coming back down. Much quicker than the overall market. Obviously a lot of tech stocks like Amazon, Shopify, which have just been unbelievable, which just seems like irrational exuberance all over the place on some of those stocks. I sold my Shopify yesterday because I was literally just flabbergasted. I love Shopify. I'm going to try to rebuy it, but the stock has went up 100% in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In about 10 days, Shopify has almost went up 100% from the lows, 334 to yesterday got up to 644. So take 90%. The stock is up in 10 trading sessions. I feel like that's just irrational exuberance. I sold it yesterday. It's actually slightly above from where I sold it. So I kind of regretted it right away because I love Shopify. It was just up so much so fast. I was like, look, I got to take this. This is a ridiculous gain in a very short time. I think I will get it back, but maybe I'm wrong. These things go parabolic. Maybe it's going to go like Tesla. I'm not shorting it. I would love to get my Shopify back, but I just felt it was too much too fast. But you can see there's certain stocks that are just blasting off, but the same stocks, like the airlines, LUV, bring up this one, Joel. LUV has been sitting here at this 30 for, holy cow, better part, bounces off. This 30 support on LUV is just incredible. If this ever takes this out, it's going to be ugly. There's going to be some flushes. Maybe it's support until it's broken. But man, you sit down here on support for long enough, you almost think it's inevitable that it's eventually going to take it out. And you look at where the market is, and you look at where these airline stocks are, which got a very sweetheart deals on those on their payrolls, obviously until September, with very little dilution on any of them, and they couldn't rally. They could not rally in it. So there is serious problems, obviously, with the airlines because they're flying so much below capacity. The tailwind for them is going to be, hey, fuel prices are going to be a lot lower. So if we ever come back, if we ever start flying again and getting, people confident enough to fly again, these airlines could be good investments because, man, oil and gasoline prices are going to be a lot cheaper. Rocket fuel is going to be a lot cheaper for these airlines. So, there's the positive story here, but it's all about, the short-term demand problem and how long does the short term last.
But isn't the other side of that the airlines are also like they own oil and are also
some of them
hedging with oil? So
LUV is a big hedger. Some of them do hedge. Some of them don't hedge as much, and they never go out. I don't know if any airline's going out more than a year or two with the hedges. You could Google that and probably find it out fairly quickly. They do hedge. LUV, I believe, just going from my memory, and I'm not sure it's still that way, but I always remember Southwest was one of the big hedgers. And then there's other ones that are more aggressive that aren't hedging as much. But you see where fuel is, and obviously gasoline prices go to your pumps, it's going to be down significantly probably again with what's happened in crude. And you think, man, these airlines, if we do ever, come out of this, if they survive, and obviously, they've had, and obviously on CNBC, I'm talking about the same thing. They got some money to pay their payrolls for a bit, but this is going to buy them time. But we're still at a situation where we need to figure out how, to get people back on the planes. And until people are confident enough to fly again, they're going to continue to burn cash, and they will burn through the money that they recently got fairly quickly. It's going to be burned through basically in payrolls. So it gets them maybe to August, or maybe it buys them a few months. But at a certain time, they're probably going to need money again, unless we all go back, we get a cure, and we all go back to the way they were. We get a cure, and these airlines will be the thing that are flying the most. So it comes out, well, we got this figured out. Nobody's dying anymore. Let's go. You will see the airlines will be the stocks that are up the most on that because
for sure.
They have not rallied. That is their out. That is their, trump card, call it, no pun intended. But that is, the wild card for the airlines. The bearish scenario is that we stay in lockdown for a prolonged period of time, that we reopen and people start getting reinfected, and we have to go back in lockdown, and we have to wait for a vaccine, which could be a year or two away. And these airlines probably can't survive that long without taxpayer money. So that's the bull bear scenario. And where they go from here, it's like we don't know how this story ends. So it's interesting.
Yeah, to say the least here. Nice little rally here off the low, though.
On LUV?
No. I'm just talking about the S&Ps.
Okay, we'll go back to the S&Ps.
Yeah, no, we hit that 2750. That was a magical number last week, and here we are bouncing once again. We'll see if we can get back into maybe get halfway back on the session. That seems like a long ways away. That's 27.9175, but who knows? This market trying to hold up with crude down nearly $5, 24%.
Somebody asked about Gilead in the chat, and I sold most of my Gilead. I kept a little piece just for fun. I did sell it. Actually, I sold out in the pre-market that morning. I got over $85, which was a nice sale. I intend to rebuy the Gilead. I hope it pulls back into that bottom trend line. If you were to draw that trend line, I'm looking at the 70, and Joel can probably, we can't draw, we should figure out how to draw lines on the charts, but if you bring up the daily,
I see
what I'm talking about. Get down to 76, 77, yep. I'm going to rebuy it all. So I sold with the intentions of coming in here and rebuying because I still like the stock, and obviously the wild card of this drug, at least Adam Fierstein's saying, it looks pretty promising here. So you get the pullback here. I could come in here and rebuy and scalp $4 here this morning, but I'm greedy and I'll probably want to get at the lower part of that trend line. If I miss it, I miss it. So I never like paying up. I should start paying up more maybe.
All right. Let's see. We got Nick coming on in 5 minutes.
4 minutes, yeah.
4 minutes. Should we talk some earnings?
Yeah, let's do it. We've had quite a few report. The Big Blue reported last night.
Yep, IBM's numbers were out yesterday. The EPS and the revenue were, I guess they were fine. The adjusted EPS beat the estimate, $1.84 versus $1.79. Sales $17.57 versus $17.62 billion. They did also withdraw their guidance for the year. Talked up the cloud revenue, cloud segment call, they said the cloud revenue was up 19% on a year-over-year basis to $5.4 billion. Talking that up, obviously, as a major growth area of the company and a major focus point for the new CEO. But, we knew that net income would decline, earnings would decline. That happened, but not much more to say here for IBM.
All right, let's just take a look at it on the daily as well as we're trading lower. Got a little bit of a pop here, traded down 476. I mean, you did get the pop, but now the drop. Let me zero in on the pre-market low. You could also figure, if you have to own IBM, maybe figure half of this move off your March low. I don't know if that bottomed on the same day. You got a little bit of a rounding bottom here. It looks like you did find some buyers. Your pre-market low, it looks like is it in a 114 or is it the 113 handle? Boom. I see 114 even. Yep. 114 even. Keep an eye on that for longs or for continue follow through on the downside. That's really not even near 50%. So it's given some back yet, but finding buyers at 114.
It's held up. One thing, the CEO was on Mad Money last night. I believe it was the CEO. At least it was some representative from IBM. I think it was the CEO. Yeah, it was the new CEO. And he was confident in the dividend. 5.6%. They basically were saying there's no intentions of cutting the dividend here. And there's a lot of people who are in IBM for the dividend. So the cash flows are still probably fine at a stock like IBM. I mean, short-term cash flows, everybody is hurting, obviously, but they're still feeling confident in that. And that was another reason why, maybe the stock holds up better because it does have that dividend protection of 5.6%. I think you get down in the lower 110, 112, 113 area. I think you got underneath demand here. So I would not be surprised if this holds up. Again, it all depends on the overall market, though. When you're buying a stock right now like IBM, you're basically buying the S&P. S&Ps start to roll over and get ugly here. Everything's going to start to roll over. We don't know. Right now, the S&Ps are somewhat worried about this whole oil situation. So they're not only worried now about COVID, the oil is a whole new worry again. So we're not selling off today, I believe, on COVID concerns. We're selling off because this WTI fallout here still. And worrying about the banks' exposures. We're worrying about a lot of, a whole new worry here again. We talked about oil being a worry a few weeks ago. Well, it's right back on the table here. And obviously people getting burned, and things like the USO getting turned off of maybe stocks just for a day or two as well. Question is, you buy the pullback here now. I mean, now we got a little pullback to buy. I'm sitting with 65% cash. I'd buy my Gilead if it pulled back a little bit more. I'd rebuy that. Is there anything? Oh, you know what other stock too?
Which one? Square?
No, I got another one, and we only got a minute here. My buddy Mike was talking about this one. I'm not sure if we mentioned on the show, but he talked about this a couple of weeks ago. And props to Mike. He was talking about FLIR Systems, F-L-I-R. And yeah, because they do the infrared cameras. So, talk about thermal imaging. That's what, they specialize in. And they had rumors of an Amazon order or something, or Amazon going to use FLIR Systems to do infrared. And I mean, if we're going to be opening back up and we're going to need to scan people and look, obviously, who's sick or not, these thermal imaging cameras could get hot. It got hot yesterday, continues to be hot here today. I know Mike, I believe he bought the stock, so congratulations on that. I don't own it, but on a pullback here, this thing could get hot. This is could be a story. It hasn't really got much media coverage here yet. This actually, I could see this getting hot.
Well,
FLIR, I'm talking.
Hot yesterday, so
very hot. So yeah, so it's already starting to get hot. It's continuing to be hot, but we've seen some of these stories just get silly. Is this one? What's the market? This is a big company, so can this just get silly as well? It's not like it's a speculative stock. I mean, the market cap will grab it quickly on FLIR, and they do other things as well, but I'm just looking quickly at the market cap because it gives you a feel for what it can do. At $5 billion, it can move. A $5 billion company can move, and we saw it move significantly yesterday, and we're seeing it here again today. Again, the catalyst for yesterday, at least on Twitter when I was looking quickly, was it appears that something with Amazon using FLIR Systems technologies to potentially scan for COVID. So this could be a play on COVID
New
here.
COVID play.
A newer one that hasn't been talked about, and about economy reopening. I could see the stock getting hot. I would be a buy. I'm probably going to try to buy it on pullbacks. I hate chasing. You know me. Stock was $35 beginning of yesterday. Now it's 42 here. I'm like, oh, $7. It's up 20% in 2 days. I'll wait for a pullback. But you know what? Those pullbacks sometimes come. So this is an interesting play. I have no position right now, but I'm interested.
All right, 8:36. Let's bring on our guest, Nick Chahine. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Joins us every other Tuesday. I wonder if he'll be on camera today. Nick, good morning.
No.
Nick, give us a camera.
I thought about putting a full getup with mask, but I just ran out of time.
Oh, that would have been good. I want to see your swimming pool full of oil.
Yeah, well, you're the one with the swimming pool. I live in a regular folk home. I don't live in a palace. I live in California, dude.
My palace isn't going to look so nice when that swimming pool is full of oil. I'll tell you that, Nick.
Yeah,
the kids, like you said, the kids are not going to be pleased with that one.
I'm going to be rich, man. I'm going to be rich.
we're gonna take delivery of all this oil at minus $35 a barrel and sell it in June of 20. Make $55. The kids can swim in oil for a month, can't they?
That's what I'm going to say. I can probably sell subscriptions to like dip yourself in oil for exfoliating services.
Yeah, and we can make another business model. Man, Nick, we're thinking here now.
Yeah.
So not only will we make it, we'll dip your
so what's going on?
Oil, and you'll feel better.
What's going on with Apple? 278 from what? It's not like a late settle or anything. It's actually up at 278. That's like a $6 move in seconds.
Which stock?
Apple.
Oh, just taking off here. It's back to flat scratcher right now.
Yeah, but it was
bringing us the news.
It was spiked from 271 out of nowhere. So
yeah, anyway. Spike one. Okay, so this is from the Pro.
Yeah,
UK report.
They had a bunch of PRs out this morning. They had one highlighting that the services are now available in more countries around the world, more emerging markets. So
but you got this nice Pro headline at 827. Benzinga Pro, shameless pump here for the Pro.
It just boggles my mind that people still trade this stuff. Okay.
I love trading headlines. Apple shares spiked 1.5% amid Nikkei report company aiming to increase iPhone output by 4% through March. That's so it looks like
not one of those phones is 5G, by the way.
5G? We haven't talked 5G in a while.
Okay, so I did a video on Apple recently.
Okay.
And in it, I said, I went to Google and I typed 5G phones and I hit enter. Nothing from Apple. Nowhere on the page. You can do it yourself. You won't get one phone from Apple. And somebody says, they're probably on your show. Oh, come on, Nick. Who cares about 5G? And I was like, what? On what planet do you live, my friend? Everything I hear is 5G this, 5G that. Every ad from Verizon, every ad from T-Mobile is 5G. So unless Apple is holding its 5G headlines under the armpit, I think they're going to be on their heels next year with this 5G miss out thing.
I don't know. Is 5G good or bad? I keep hearing it's the cause of all our problems.
What do you mean? Cost of what?
I keep hearing it's the cause of the coronavirus. I keep hearing 5G is
5G caused COVID.
What?
Now we're starting bad.
You heard it here first, folks.
Now we're starting bad. I would say that was a Spencer Israel rumor, not a Dennis Dick rumor.
You need to keep up on your conspiracy theories, my friend.
Oh, okay. So you read the fly or whatever that's called, the bug, the whatever that. Anyway,
I see the protests too. Like, isn't COVID just all a conspiracy that really there's nobody dying? The government just made all this up to control us.
I don't know.
You see all those protests. This is fake. There's really nobody dying, guys. This is all just made up because the government wants to control us. There's people that believe this.
So if we use the 5G phone, we get COVID? Is that the prevailing thesis, or
that's where COVID came from? That's what we're starting. The rumor we're starting here today on Benzinga's pre-market prep.
Then I'm safe.
No, we are not starting this. This is out there. This is out there. This is out there. I'm just saying it's out there.
Talk to me about 5G plays, Nick.
I don't know. I'm not an expert on 5G. I'll just trade the charts, and I don't like to be early on these moves because I bought the first 3G phone from Sprint, and it was bunk because
what year was that? What year was 3G?
It was the Evo, whatever. I forgot the brand, and it was. I ran to it and I bought two, one for me, one for my wife, and they promised us the new speeds, and then everybody else got it before my city got it. So the phone died and I never got to use the new speed. So I never chased that headline again. So when it comes, fine, I'll switch to it. Until then, I'll stick with my whatever G phone I have now. And
4G probably.
Yeah, 4. But, for me, I used 1 gigabyte all of last year because I'm always around Wi-Fi. So I'm definitely not a client for 5G because I don't need it. I'm always around Wi-Fi.
So
My
if you
son, on
want
the
some
other hand,
5G, if INSG is one that Matt Kolb has given us, we've talked about this on this show for the better part of a year here now. This is a smaller 5G play, and the stock is really blasted off. I mean,
What
look
is
at
it?
the chart. INSG and Seago.
Oh,
INSG.
Cole from Benzinga
Nick,
has been all over this. I think
Yeah.
everybody in the office, because Cole's been researching this, and everybody's Benzinga's had a piece of this INSG at one time or another. We've talked about this on the show for the last couple of years.
I still do,
it's-
but
It's definitely a
Nick-
missed opportunity there for me.
Nick, I would also mention, I would bring your attention to FIVG, the 5G ETF that I own that as well. But
Well, that's an
uh,
easy way. Okay.
yeah.
like
So
that.
I would
didn't
just
even know
take
that
So, so speaking of that,
Yeah.
this is not an entry point into it, technically speaking. Clearly, I'm not up to speed. So it's running into resistance at 25, and there's a big ledge for at 25.40, 25.35 from early March. So I wouldn't start it here. This whole area is a point of control as far as volume is concerned. So it lost footing and it's trying to regain its footing. So I would buy it on a dip towards 23, 23.20 would make a better entry point. And then you would want it to just trace out the neckline to attack 24.50 or 60 again and beat it. And then it shoots to 27 or higher. But you might have a little swoon in it. I don't know what it's doing today. I'm just speaking of as of yesterday's close.
Yeah. If you ever need a hot ETF tip, or an idea, or you don't know if an ETF exists, holler at your boy, because I look at a lot of ETFs. Okay. Aside from 5G, what else you got on your radar here, Nick?
Shorted shop yesterday. I noticed that you sold yours, Dennis, because
I did. I've been in this for a while.
Yeah.
And it just felt ridiculous. I love Shopify. So full
me
disclosure,
too.
I still love
was
the
long,
fundamentals.
and I closed long early.
Just too far. I finally sold it yesterday. I was like, I wanted to sell it the day before, and I was like, okay, this is just feels like it's getting ridiculous now.
Yeah.
So I locked in. I'm up I'm up 100. I was up 130% after being only up about 25% 2 weeks ago. So I'm like, okay, it's time to book the gain here. So I'm fully out of shop. I want to get it back though. I just feel like it's like gone too far now.
Yeah, so Shopify, we went long on based on triggers, technical triggers, and I did it really easily, just an in the money, a debit call spread, and more than doubled. And I closed before the last week, a day before its peak. Let's put it this way. And yesterday, I tried to short it on Friday. Luckily, it didn't fill. Shorted it yesterday with a simple debit put spread, $10 wide, and I'm writing this one just because I want to get long again, but I want to dip into the neckline from which it broke out. So,
what price would that be? Because that's
so I'm hoping for the low 500s.
I want to put my buy order a penny above yours.
So I tell you, I was shooting for the low 500s. So I did a $10 wide debit spread that is a 515 area. And then, but ideally, if it comes down to 475, 460, that'll be great. But I don't know if we get so lucky. 475 was a big neckline. Technically speaking. So maybe it comes back towards it. And I won't write it all the way down. I'm not shorting it on principle. I think the CTO said that they're having Black Friday volume every day. I mean, I don't want to short that.
Yeah. It's a storied stock here too. I mean, Amazon, Shopify. I didn't really see Shopify as a COVID play, but obviously it sounds like their volumes are up. They've online. They provide online shopping services for so many different businesses.
I think they're providing online loan. I mean, they're providing loans against sales. So they have their own bailout program going on.
In any regard, love the company. I sold it for the only reason I thought it was overdone. I think I'm going to get it back cheaper. So trying to scalp my investment basically in Shopify, which maybe is a mistake.
No, I don't think so.
I hope not. I hope I can get it back. I hope I get it back and I don't miss it. But if I do miss it, 100% gain in a week and a half doesn't.
Where is it this morning? I haven't checked.
It's up again. It just doesn't. No, you got the market going down.
No, it's not.
500. It's up. I'm not. It's up another $6.
I'm looking.
It's
at
up another $6.
Okay.
So market here is pulling down. It's down 588.
Oh, okay.
Oh no. So it only goes up 6 points on down days, but it goes up on 50 points on up days. This is the exact stock I shouldn't have been selling.
So I shorted Roku as well, but again with a lottery ticket.
And it's up too.
But that doesn't matter. It was a scratch money, and it's a play against Netflix earnings. So Netflix was triggered, and I said it was going to 430 as soon as it triggered, and it ran to 430 and then some. So that played out. I can't go long Netflix into earnings because it's a coin flip. But I cannot believe they're going to miss their numbers. If they are, then it's a problem. So, they've had everything going their way. Everybody's streaming everything. Everybody's stuck at home. So if they're not doing well here, I don't know what we're looking for. Are we still looking for new subscribers overseas or not? I'm not sure. So it's kind of a weird. This is the weirdest earnings season ever on record, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So talk about somebody asked in your chat room, what do you think about Netflix into earnings? Like, flip your coin. I don't know. So.
You can flip your coin even, Nick, after the earnings report. I mean,
Exactly.
It comes out and you don't even know, I don't even know, I trade the earnings reports, and I have not been trading any earnings reports here because I was like, oh, they beat, but what does
Netflix,
that mean?
Netflix,
I don't know how they're going to interpret it.
Yeah, so Netflix, 430 was leg 1 and 480 was leg 2 on a different time frame. So now it's going to be either 400 to retest the neckline from which it went, 380 to 400, or finish the job at 480. And I think it's going to move with it, the cohort, maybe Disney, maybe Roku, even just Momos, Momo stock that move with other Momo stocks.
Nick, we didn't get your thoughts on oil here. What an ugly day.
I went long.
Please don't say the USO.
Yeah, I did. So
okay.
It was a credit put spread at the money. It's a 50-50 bet. Yeah. So that's it. I don't get this, negative oil price. The only thing I can picture is when I had a business and I wanted to shut it down, and I had like a few days left on the lease. I had furniture, and I called the guy to say, hey, I can sell you office furniture for cheap. He goes, how about I only charge you $2,000 to take it out? So that's the same deal where somebody is in a trade and they have to take delivery of the oil or probably settle for a panic out price. I don't get this negative price. So let's get that. Is the contract off the board? Are we into the
today?
May goes off board today.
So
but they're hitting June today, and it's ugly.
Right. Well, they're hitting June because the idea is June is going to go by way of May. So we're going to have the same negative 400% next in a few weeks. I'm going to take the other side of that quote bet. So I sold a credit plus spread at the money at $4, and we'll see what happens. So I collected 25 cents. I can make 25 cents. My maximum.
Yeah, so you're even money. It's like going to the roulette or going.
Exactly. It's a bet. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to do something.
Binary outcome there for you.
Yeah, it was a flip the finger against the freaking headline. Oil down 400%. Let me do the math.
I don't think anybody knows where oil's going to go here day to day now.
That is my point. So I know I'm going to need oil once I'm allowed to drive again. Are you? Sure. And I know one thing too, as these places start reopening, you remember how Southwest used to load up, everybody's sitting in their seat comfortable until this one guy stands up in line. Everybody rushes to the line. They want to be next. So, Germany first, other countries are going to follow. This is death. This is literally, human death is tragic. This is like death by bunga bunga. I mean, we don't even know how bad these things are out there. The SPX should be below 2,000. That's my opinion. Way below 2,000.
So let's go to the overall market here because it's a good conversation. I mean, we have held up here right around the 50% retracement. It's been the battleground. I know we're through it a little bit, but really here for about a week and a half, we've been battling around the 50% retracement of the overall move on SPY. And what I'm talking about is from 338 down to 220 and then back. And I think Joel calculated exactly at 279 would be the 50% retracement.
2786 or
so we've been kicking around that area here for about a week and a half. Are we failing around this 50% retracement? Do you think we eventually get, a significant sell-off from this point in time? Or, are we just going to shrug it off and continue back on our merry road to all-time highs?
Well, I just posted a naked chart, meaning no lines, just a volume profile. And it's a natural resistance spot, regardless of the chart, regardless of the news flow. If you show me a chart like this, you say, do you go long? I'll say, no, I'll wait for a swoon down to at least, 2,600, halfway through 2,600 for them to reload and take out the recent high. And by the way, I had 2880 as a target from a few weeks ago, and they went to 2885. I said at the time, there's a dueling scenario, either 22 or 2880. And then we triggered the 2880, and that's what we traded. And I said, up here, I book my profits. I'll line up a few shorts, just bearish bets, not like anything massive, and then I'll wait for the price action. And somebody asked me in the chat room today, what do you think? Why are we falling? I said, do you care why? I told you yesterday, if this happens, this is the line it's going to draw. And it drew it exactly. And I shared it earlier in the chat room before I came on the show. You can look it up. So it's not a surprise. And the charts can help you make sense of this. Last evening in the chat room, I said, I see 1172 in the RTY. And this morning it was 1171. And we were at 1215 at the time, or 1220. So the charts do help. The news is crazy, but I turned off my news. I said that yesterday on Twitter. I was like, this is bullshit, excuse me, that I hear every freaking new case in any country in the world. I don't care. I really don't care. I've got cases around me. I've got enough news about this. We know it. Everybody's getting sick.
Yeah. I
don't need to hear every new.
I'm completely sick of it too. Same thing. I'm actually sick of it too, Nick. And I've done the same thing. Is like I read very little. I watch some of the press conferences on Trump just because it's trading opportunities. But once my trade, like on the weekend, when I don't need to read headlines because I'm a headline trader, I'm like, no, I don't want to need the COVID talk.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's like
it's too much. It's overload.
If that's what you listen to all day, every day, it's
drive you nuts.
They'll just drive you nuts. So to answer your question on the ES, so if I go to the daily chart, which I rarely make decisions on the daily chart, it's very easy to see that 2706 area of, let's call it 2700 round number, is a place where it's visibly contention place. You can see there was a candle bottom on March 10th and a really bad top on the 13th, and then another battle over it April 8th on, and here we are back to it and to the area. So if I were to guess a place where they want to try to stabilize, that'll be one place. And if they lose that, the other place that sticks out is 2640. And these are just big round numbers, but these are easy. Like if I stand back at the chart and I'll say, okay, I want to try to catch the dip, I'll try here. But if they lose this bottom here,
do you got a halt on USO?
Yeah, Dr. J in the chat. It is halted.
It's going to zero.
USO has halted for news. I think they want to clarify a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously
they're going to say tomorrow we're going to open up 665.
Nick's hoping. The market wants clarification on how exactly they, are operating. We know they rolled, but what do they do in the event? Yeah. What do they do in the event that, the June contract goes negative? How are they handling that? I think the market wants, probably the regulators may even want clarification on some of the stuff. Questions we were asking this morning that we don't exactly know the answer to. No. And I hope the USO knows the answer to.
Yeah. That's why I said, somebody said, how are you doing this? I said, I'm not selling naked puts, but 25 cents, I'll take that bet. I mean, it's 25 cents. Yeah, $250 on 10.
Reverse split. I think that was something that I talked about.
Oh, no, don't do that on me. I hate doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how else are they going to get the price higher? How else are they going to get
fundamentals? I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, the fundamentals aren't working. Crude's back at $15, down 26%, trying to stay in the 15 handle. 1179 was your low for you guys that are looking for a revisit of the low. That was a quick spike down, and geez, man, that was a 5:45 this morning when you had that. So that spike down. Not sure if we're going to get back there again today.
What's the low on the USO today then? Because if that was at 5:45 this morning on crude, then that would have actually been reflected in the USO price. What's the USO low?
$2.23.
Holy mackerel. So USO was cut in half at one point in time today, almost down 40%.
There goes
incredible world we live in.
There goes my monies.
Wow, like a binary bet, like you said, it's not that big of a deal. It's these people who are flat out buying just the USO and then saying, "Oh well, oil can't keep going down. I'm just gonna." There's people that say, "Oh, oil can't keep going down. I'll just buy the USO," and eventually, it's coming back. I'm like,
yeah.
We don't know anything.
Yeah, the fundamentals are so confusing to a lot of people. But if you want to think macro, this is a complete disaster that we've never had before. I know there was a depression era, but let's talk modern history. They keep comparing it to the 2008. This is completely different. So it's unfair. We haven't seen this. We haven't seen this before. And I think the leaders are freaking out because I'm going to tell you one thing. The unemployment picture is going to get really ugly for a really long time because of the bailout efforts. I learned that I have friends from the gym who make very little money, and let's say their paycheck is $200, now it's going to be $800 a week, because the government, the states are pitching in an extra $600 for every person that files for unemployment, regardless of how much they make a week. So this person doesn't want to go back to work because they're making 3 times as much.
That's crazy.
For 4 months, 3 or 4 months. Double check that fact for the length of time. But I know the paychecks are $600 a week higher than they expected. They got a check, and if they were expecting 300, it's now 900, and they got 1,200 retroactive 2 paychecks from before.
All right, I think that's a good place to wrap up. We've got a couple minutes left today. Nick Chahine, author of Create Income with Options First.
Thank you for the opportunity. This was fun.
Stay safe.
Yep.
All right.
Later.
All right, a couple minutes left. I get to Beyond Meat quickly, just because it's up.
Sure.
Last I checked, 10%. This is the stock that never stops giving, apparently. So there was a headline out this morning that they had partnered with Starbucks for their expansion into China. And so that they're offering 3 Beyond Beef items in mainland China across the 3,300 Starbucks locations. So that is the reason for your pop here in Beyond Meat this morning.
It's still got the story cooking. I mean, a story matters more than fundamentals always. The valuation has never made any sense. And we've had Mark Yusko on the show, and he was obviously involved in this thing before it was public. And, he waited until he could sell, and then he was selling hand over fist because the valuation never made sense. But the story, all that matters is the story, and the story is still intact. There's still the vegan story is still there. This obviously, every time it gets a contract, is it justified that it should be up 10% or 12% because they're going to be in a couple of Starbucks? No, it makes no sense at all. But it doesn't matter. It's a story. And you still have people who are, playing this on a fundamental basis that get squeezed every time there's, something good happening. Obviously people, back in March thought, okay, well, finally it's coming to roost. Thing gets down to $48. Well, you know what? It's back again. So it's a hard stock to just stay short because they keep coming up with new contracts, and they're going to rally them every time, 11%, every time they get a deal with somebody. It could be a lot more deals to be had. So hard to play that short when the market's, that irrational about something. So it's not going to go in my long-term investment portfolio, but as a trade, it's still, can you short 11% pops? Sometimes it pops. Selling the rips and buying the dips has been working in a lot of stocks. So I'm not chasing. I'm not buying something up 11% today. Would I make a trade on it? Again, when you're trying to just call that this is the point where it's going to reverse, it's a tough game.
Yeah, you did get a spike up to 93.21, and that's been snuffed out here. Looks like sellers were lining up just over $90. They're coming down. I mean, this one, it better get up off its mat, and well, it's already up $9, but I'm just talking get up there over 90, hold 90, and then perhaps take a look at the pre-market high. If you start to go into reverse, and I've seen this on days before when they announced their deal with McDonald's, the top of yesterday's range is not until $78. So I'm sure you can find some intermediate levels in between there, but definitely some profit taking here. S&P's just breached 2750 briefly and went to 2747.75. And trying to rally out of this area that was all too familiar from last week.
All right. We didn't get to Lockheed Martin. They beat this morning. Coca-Cola, they beat this morning. As far as earnings after the close, we're going to hear from Chipotle, Snap, Texas Instruments, Netflix, Chubb. I think I got the main ones there.
Netflix is going to be the story. It is obviously priced to a little bit of perfection. It's had a hell of a run, but again, the story is perfectly intact here still until we get to a situation where everybody's coming out of lockdown. And when we start opening up and, it looks like we're past the COVID, this could be a situation where money could eventually start flowing out of this. But the story is still hot. People are, I'm watching that Tiger King show. I only watched the first episode, but I was like, wow, that's pretty good. So, everybody's sitting at home watching their Netflix right now. The story is perfectly intact. So hard to be bearish a stock like that. Tiger King. Yeah, have you watched it yet? Go watch it.
Nah, I don't like it.
Spencer, how far are you into the Tiger King?
Oh, I've been done.
Oh, you're done. You
Yeah.
just pounded that out.
Yeah,
Boom, boom, boom.
I've
I had the
been
kids,
done
so I
with
only
that.
get like that 1 hour of freedom every night. So
Totally
between
fair.
trading and kids, when they go to sleep at 8:30, I'm exhausted by 9:30. So I have like 1 hour from 8:30 to 9:30 to watch maybe something. And we pounded out Ozark fairly quickly, me and my wife. And she's actually watched the first 2 episodes of Tiger King. She wants me to catch up so we can start watching it there together. But it's pretty good. I was impressed with the Tiger King.
Yeah, weird show for a weird time. All right, that'll be
Maybe because I have
today.
a mom that's a cat lover too.
I don't know. You can catch any part of this show, the replay, our full archives on YouTube, on our podcast, on whatever podcast platform you prefer. Thanks to our guest today, Nick Chahine. Thanks to everyone in our chat, both on YouTube and premarket.benzinga.com. Tomorrow's guest will be David Trainer. He's the founder and CEO of New Constructs. Joel and I will be back with you at 3:40. In the meantime, please remember all the information from this broadcast is meant to be used as informational purposes and not for investing or trading advice. We'll see you at 3:40. In the meantime, everyone have a great rest of your day, and wherever you are, be safe. And we off.